All right, thank you. Good morning, everyone. If you'd please stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, it is February 3rd, Monday, 2014. This is the Broadwater County Commissioners meeting. Welcome, everyone. We are going to follow the Broadwater County Open Meetings Policy, which follows Robert's Rules of Order. The purpose of this policy is to open the Broadwater County public meetings to all county citizens. We realize we have a fiscal and fiduciary responsibility to conduct county business as efficiently as possible for all Broadwater County residents. Commission meetings are recorded and you are on YouTube, so please state your full name prior to public comment for the record. Any separate conversations need to be removed from the meeting and conducted outside. Outbursts will not be tolerated. Public comment will be prior to the meeting, and each citizen who wishes to speak will be given 3 minutes. The agendas are posted a full week prior to the meeting, and all comments need to be directed to the board chair or presiding officer. So again, good morning, and is there any public comment? Tim.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Commissioners. Tim Ravendall, Townsend. I just would like to just raise up a question, if you will, regarding the people's request for the commission to consider a resolution regarding our constitutional right to keep and bear arms. I got to remind the commission that in good faith the people have come forward and asked for a process to consider this. And the last meeting it was stated that MACO has advised the commission against this. And with all due respect to the commission and your purview to determine what is important to the people and what is not, I respectfully request that the commission consider holding that hearing that as the people have requested. That does not mean that the commission has to adopt any such resolution or anything, but it does provide that process for public involvement in the operations of our local government. So with that said, Madam Chair and Commission, I would respectfully request that we do move forward and provide the citizens of Broadwater County that opportunity to have a public process in our local government. It is all about having people involved in the government and providing that opportunity, and in fact, quote unquote, encouraging that as per the Constitution of Montana. So, Madam Chair and Commission, I would really appreciate having at least that opportunity to honor the earlier promises and move forward. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. And as last week, in order to maintain stability, we will have responses to the public comment at the end of public comment. Is there any further public comment? John.
John Wright. Laura, I'm listening to you talking to us in what I think you believe is the truth in reference to allowing Robert's Rules of Procedures of parliamentary law, which there is no parliamentary law legally introduced or active in our nation. Never. It's another whole form of government, like England. You are a public servant. You swore to God Almighty and to the Constitution of the United States to uphold the Constitution of the United States first and foremost. With that said, you are a public servant, and you are depriving us every time you introduce through this tyrannical power that you think you have. You're breaking the law, your Constitution, our rights at will. How long will you go on doing this without learning the true fact of what your constitutional oath of office really said and what you've done and what you swore to do? it is out of order. And you keep pushing for more and more. When are you going to come to reality that you are obligated, mandated to uphold our constitutional rights? First, Fourth, Fifth Amendment. You have not done this. And there will be a consequence down the road, undoubtedly. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other public comment? Public comment? Per Robert's Rules of Order, we asked 3 times. Third choice, third option, public comment? All right.
Go again.
Responses to public comment. First of all, Tim, we have heard your requests. A couple of complaints I have received in the past is when you stand up and speak for the people and you represent the people, several of the people have complained that you do not represent them. So what I will ask in the future is when you stand up that you represent yourself or those that are behind you by name, so that we know who they are. A blanket by the people or the people is inappropriate. Second of all, John just mentioned the First, Fourth, and Fifth Amendments. In order to have a private hearing on the Second Amendment, now we're looking at the First, Fourth, and Fifth, as well as all the others and the Bill of Rights. I think that is a waste of people's time, it is a waste of the people's money, and it is a waste of the personnel and the county resources. So in the interest of it being fiduciarily responsible, that is a waste of money. The last time we did have a working meeting on the Second Amendment, it lasted about 2 to 3 hours. I believe it was on a Wednesday afternoon. And the document we started with was a 5-page ordinance that appeared to be more of a secession document than a Second Amendment document. The Second Amendment was misquoted on the paperwork you provided to this commission. Therefore, any credibility on this issue is lost. You certainly may engage the public on the Second Amendment. You certainly may hold your own public hearing, public meeting, and there are a variety of venues that you can do that with. And we certainly encourage that. In the interest of transparency, you may hold whatever meetings, public or otherwise, that you would like. John, in the past, for the past year, we have gotten unlimited complaints from citizens, partners, and employees that when they came to commissioner meetings, they were fearful and they were agitated. And that is because the meetings had become a free-for-all in which any person who sat to bring information to this commission was attacked on a personal level, in the newspaper, in these meetings, after the meetings in the hall. For that reason, the old style that we had personally come to love of being able to open our meetings and be much more intimate with the public is gone. We now are having to follow what other counties, specifically Lewis and Clark, as Tim has brought up, a much more rigid structure under Robert's Rules of Order. It is the only way to keep these meetings from becoming hostile. Again, this is in the interest of fiduciary responsibility. We need to be responsible with the people's time, the people's resources, the people's employees, and the people's money. In the interest of that, we will maintain order at these meetings, and to do so, we will maintain Robert's Rules of Order.
In other words,
So
you're going to
we are
continue
going
breaking
to
the
move
law.
on we have about 5 minutes before 10:15. So we have minutes from January 27th, 2014.
Madam Chair,
They
point of
were
order.
sent out to the commission Tuesday or Wednesday, I believe. We've had them for almost a week. And while Franklin is going over the minutes again, I'm going to hand out some information from road supervisor. It will be relevant here in about 3 minutes. So one for you and one for Franklin. you finished reading those, Franklin? I'd be happy to entertain a motion to approve.
Also move.
Second? It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes of January 27, 2014. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Very good.
Okay, if you could please speak up for the record, that would help move things along. Motion carries, excuse me, Ann. All right, we have one more minute, we'll go ahead and do one piece of mail and then hear from our next item on the agenda. The NACO Western Interstate Region Conference is in Alaska upcoming. If anyone would like to go, you can register online.
Oh, it's just the Western Interstate section, huh?
Yeah. That was held in Billings a couple years ago. It's a good conference, but I think Anchorage, for me, is too far to go.
My kids go here.
Yeah. All right, next on the agenda, Dana Rouser, Road and Bridge Monthly Update.
Where are we in there? This is just, this first piece is for this grinding out here when we get ready to do that. I guess it's still to go April 8th. They're planning on doing it. I talked to her the other day. She said we're still, depending on what happens, you know, in springtime with, you know, flooding or cold or whatever. But anyway, it's pretty straightforward from the looks of it. You know, it's going to be kind of a demonstration type thing, but they're gonna grind it for us and at a reduced cost here. So and I can't remember what it say. It had something about the price on there. Did you see that price? I thought you had. Oh, here.
Page 6.
Yeah, something about to see after lunch. We normally charge $2,000 for this project. IT fuel, charge would be $1,000. So if we can get that ground up for $1,000, that's pretty good. That's a pretty good chunk of ground out here.
Nice move on pursuing that.
So prior to that, we'll have to have, you know, I'm sure Mike will have things, you know, lined out as far as what little bit of digging he's gotta do. I think he's got some stuff to take care of along the wall here or something, I think.
Yeah, I agree. A little bit, yeah.
A couple, pipe fittings or.
Yeah, I think he's got both the drains tied in now. There might be one more drain to tie in, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I helped him do these drains here. I know he's gotta do the one right here by the Sally Port. He's gotta just move that over just a little bit and dump it down into that pipe we put there last fall, but.
The pipe's in, though, isn't it?
Yeah, pipe's ready to go. Okay, I think I give you all that bid on these doors.
Oh,
Did you have that in there? I think it was on the back of this stuff here.
You're just the one she was in there, Dana?
Yeah. The other one was $4,800 piece. And this one here was 41, well, a little less than 41,
Mhm.
you know, with a little bit of a discount there, so comes out 79. With the opener and stuff on this, so.
Do you have any idea how old those doors are now?
They were there 25 years ago when I came.
Okay, so they last a good long time.
Yeah, they're pretty tough shape. I mean, they're sagging and the panels are all popping out, because they're not wood, they're made of a,
Right, Mason, I think, aren't they?
well, something, you know, they've just
Crushed.
kind of excuse me, deteriorated and stuff, but we patched the bottom piece, you know, cause that's where we were having most of the problem, but now it's moved up to the second panel, so. Anyway, we had troubles with the mortar last week or 2 weeks ago, and kinda got that, excuse me, rigged, jumbled up.
Facing the south, they're catching
Yeah.
sun all the way through there.
Are these insulated doors?
Yes, they are metal insulated doors, aluminum insulated. Got a row of windows on them, just like the ones do now, small windows, but they'll be, you know, nice and tight. Just like the other ones we put in a couple years ago, which helped quite a bit, so. That's on that. I think you got some pictures there too. These are not necessity projects. These are just a few little projects that I would like to take care of this spring when I get time. It's nothing major, it's not gonna take a lot of time. It's just straightening some roads. I believe the first one you have is Lombard Road. You know, Franklin out there, right across, as you make the corner at the canal, and it kind of dips back into the west. You know, the road dips into the west and then it curves back around and goes back around to the east again. I'm just gonna haul some fill in that and just straighten that road out where I've got the black lines on there.
Can you get that stuff, you know, that road where Zuri took out just past Barnes?
Oh, yeah.
There's a whole pile of stuff.
Yeah, I got some other fill I wanna stick in there below that, and then I'll put some other stuff over the top, and I'll probably even just get close, and then I'll move this road over, have Gordon with the excavator or something.
Pull
just-
some of that over,
Just
okay.
grab it and just flip it right over, and like I said, it'll take 2 or 3 days, not very long. Next one's Dry Creek, right there, I think we talked about that before. About a quarter mile, half mile off Flynn Lane. That driveway you see going right in the center there, that goes into Corey Davis's new barn. The one off to your right goes into his driveway. I talked to Joel and Corey, both. It's pretty much, you know, it's all county right away there, but that road took a dive, you know, to the south just because of the ditches there. You can see the ditches up above it there. And, you know, that's the only reason that road's like it is. Got plenty of material there, we'll just take and just cut it down, cut and fill, and then all over the gravel over the top, just straighten that out.
It doesn't look to me like it interferes with the pivot at all.
No, there's no problem there at all, just from point A to point B.
Hey Dana, those ditches are not used right now.
No.
Is there any chance that if we were to enter any kind of a rainy season, that those could be used and then we're looking at a potential flooding situation?
Well, what we'll do is we'll just kinda, there's a few pipe in here already,
Okay,
so what we'll do is we'll just go ahead and either replace the pipe or you know, just make sure everything's okay there and make sure there's pipe there to get it across the road, so.
okay.
And then there's, you know, plenty of ditch down off to the north and off to the east and the west, so that shouldn't be a problem. And then that next one is Flynn Lane down by the top of the page. You're looking at Wynn's property down through there. It's coming down off that, what Joel Flynn calls Zubrick Hill, where Danny Williams' son and John Nelson got in that wreck. No, that's been a long time.
Oh, okay, yeah,
20 years ago.
yeah.
But it's kind of bad. I mean, you come down off the hill, you know, it's a sharp point. You come down off the hill and then it kind of veers off to the east there some. You can see where I got the one green line where it, you know, it goes right straight through the center of the road there. So what we would do is just haul a little bit of fill in along that one side there, and then I can actually take some fill off from just down below Swan's driveway there, just come off that first hill, which would be back down on the bottom of the page. Fill that in, and then same thing, have Gordon come up with the excavator and just grab, you know, so we got a ditch down there along there, and just have him grab it and throw it over to the side, so. And that's another, well, each one of these is gonna take, you know, 2-3 days. I mean, it's not real extensive, and we'll do that just when we have time.
You're right. August type work maybe.
Yeah, somewhere when it dries up some, you know. Wondering too about the Rolling Glen Ranch Road. I know we still got some money in that account. Should try to get down there, and I don't know, that road really needs some more gravel on it. We keep putting a Band-Aid on it just to get by, but there's a lot of big rock coming up out of it, I don't know. It'd be nice to take a few more of those hills off like we had designed to do that. Wouldn't take much to do it, but, you know, I just don't know. I need to find out how much money's left in that account. It's gonna take a pretty good shot of gravel down through there.
How did that turn out where you took it down?
Good.
And has it been drifting in at all this
No.
winter?
No, it hasn't been in the last 2 winters,
Oh, good.
which surprised me,
Mhm.
because we took them down, 8, 10 feet in spots, a couple of them, so. But it's been good.
Now you're talking more the north-south part of Rolling Glen. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, it's basically, you know, we did that one chunk from the subdivision, Rolling Glen subdivision, back south to, what's that, subdivision there? West side, it's not west side.
Western or something, isn't it?
The west side.
Is that got the big,
This,
Yeah, big ones,
yeah.
down to that driveway, just past it. And then you get on down to where the old Dunbar Road took off, back to the west there, you know, there's some pretty sharp hills in there that points that should come off. You know, take a few weeks to do all that stuff, you know, but I mean, we did it last time with Gordon and the grader and stuff, you know, a couple dump trucks. You know, saved quite a bit of money by doing that, but that's another one that, you know, is not I think it's a priority, it's not a big giant hurry, you know, do it when we got some time.
have you ever checked on that material? Leonard Hurd's used it on that Toss Dam subdivision. You get it there past Whitehall somewhere. How would that be for haulers?
Oh, is it that?
It's a good material.
It's like up toward Pipestone?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's basically just rock. It's a real hard rock, you
Mhm,
know.
mhm. But I see where they put on the subdivision, it worked real good. I just would,
Okay, I
which
don't
is the
know.
best way to haul, I just wonder if that would be a better haul.
Yeah, and I know A.M. Wells has got some right there at Logan too, but I don't know how good it is. And then they got some more down between, the interstate and Sappington. They've got another pile down there that might be okay, which might be, you know, be a little closer haul.
Yeah, that Logan would be if the material's good enough, it'd be the closest haul, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would. Some of that, I don't know, I just have to do a compaction test, I guess, and see what it looks like, but it would be a nice haul, I mean, it's pretty close. And, they got a mountain out there, I just don't know how good it is. I've seen some of that lay down, and then some of it's good, some of it's not.
That part you magged there, that'd be 2 years ago, how'd that hold up for last year? Did it still?
Well, we magged again last year.
You did mag again last year.
And it's good, I mean, once you mag, I mean, we haven't touched that, well, once a year. We were down there 3 to 4 weeks, every time, before the chloride.
Mhm.
And I'll tell you, it holds that road nice.
How long is that stretch you magged?
It's a mile.
Oh, just a mile? I thought it was longer than that.
Yeah, it might be a mile and a quarter.
Okay,
It ain't
okay.
longer than that.
When it swings back more to the west, you don't go that direction.
No, we just go over the top of the hill, just past Rolling Glen driveway and stop right there, because that's the worst part of the road.
Okay.
So, that holds good. Excuse me, I'm not feeling real well here. Got my letter on, did you get my letter? I think I emailed that to everybody on this 35
Oh, yeah.
mile an hour deal.
I did not print copies of that one, no, but we did all get it via email.
Okay, all right, did everybody look at it?
Mhm.
Mhm.
All right. I guess I'm wondering, what's the next step? Do you wanna pursue this, or do you not wanna pursue this, or?
Well.
And I don't know exactly, I know how to pursue it, I don't know how, if we wanna do it, how we would do it without just distributing signs, water signs.
first of all, we have to go through the public comment
Oh, yeah.
period.
Yeah, we have to do a public
And
hearing
that, see
and all
what,
that, but,
everything would fly okay.
yeah,
I guess that'd be the first
okay.
part to get done, don't you think?
And what we talked about last week was actually having some meetings around the county
Okay,
so that we go to the citizens and hear what they have to say
Yeah.
about the situation and
Yeah.
what their opinions are.
okay,
They can come right to here too, we can just set it up for different ones, different meetings.
yeah, whatever. I just wanna know, everybody's back behind this thing, or is it a waste of time or not?
Well, I think it's a very good idea. And I asked at the sheriff's office, what is their thoughts on it, and they said it should make their job a lot easier,
Well, I think it would.
because they get a lot of complaints about speeding on the road.
Well, and you got 35s, you got 25s, you got 45s, you know, so if we had one set and everybody finally figures it out, I think it would help, you know, the sheriff's office and stuff, you know, for
Yeah.
a lot of this stuff. It'd help our roads.
And the big part, I think, is maintenance on the road,
I think it would, I think it'd be, it's a big deal.
especially when there's that lime rock on the road yet.
Yeah, well, any.
Or any of it too,
Any
but
of that gravel.
that lime rock, it seems like it washes awful fast.
Yeah.
With speed.
Yeah, the graver stuff does, but, yeah, so, okay, well, I guess we need to, somebody need to figure that out.
We're gonna actually start scheduling those on our second Wednesdays.
All right,
And if you have a target date on when you would like to have a decision, we can actually do this every other Wednesday or every Wednesday.
well, if we just, sometime, you know, by May,
Okay,
somewhere
that gives
in
us a
there, you know,
chance
just
to,
so we got some idea, right in there, so we can get posted on it. It's a little hard out there right now.
sure, yeah. But before the RVs
Yeah.
start tearing up some of the roads, yeah.
Okay, what else we got here? I started working on a little letter for Goose Bay.
Okay.
It's a little pointed, it's a little right to the point.
That's what we need.
It's probably not, you know, and I don't know if you guys wanna do something with it, or you want me to show you this thing when I get kinda handled a little bit more. There. Or
I
you
don't know
guys
if-
feel about writing a letter, you go right ahead, but something needs to be done.
I think that it would be appropriate to have you write a letter, and you can make it as pointed as you like, in my opinion. I also think the commission should write a letter, and that should be a little bit more diplomatic, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
And then I think we also need to have a petition that we take to the folks on Goose Bay Road,
You bet.
and we can do that kind of legwork for them when we go to that meeting.
Yeah.
And ask them, are you interested in this? Of course, the answer is gonna be yes,
Oh,
we've
yeah.
heard enough feedback. And get their buy-in and their John Hancock's on some kind of a letter as well, and send it as a package.
Okay.
I think that would be a more powerful, statement to them than just hearing from one
Yeah.
entity.
And we need to do that.
There should be copies, yeah, there was a petition there a couple of years ago, I believe.
Well, it was kind of, it wasn't, I guess it was kind of a petition, I don't know where it's at, but it's got it, but.
The thing is it's not specific to today. What we're asking for
That was
today is
actually for
quite
Nellens,
different.
is what it was,
Mhm. Right, from a highway project.
Yeah.
We're looking for
yeah.
pavement with the new construction. And I think we need to be a whole lot more
Yeah,
relevant and current.
And forceful.
Yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
Demanding.
Yeah, yeah.
because those people down there and the county as a whole are the ones gonna suffer for
Exactly.
it. And I didn't say anything to that guy the other day about it, but I think that, I mean, if they don't wanna do something about it, I'd say abandon some of them, and call it good.
The first meeting I
And you go to
finished-
Bend, I'll tell you, them people down there are gonna get a little upset, and then something will get fired up, but,
Mhm.
I mean, if you just mention it, if it comes to it, but I mean, you know, there's no sense of getting too wild with it right away,
Right.
I don't think.
The first meeting
Yeah, we
I
want to
think
keep
we
the
should
planning
do is.
process, so we want to
Yes.
stay right on it.
Yeah, exactly. Okay,
Let me just point out, I think the first meeting we have, as far as our traveling meetings, should be Goose Bay to get that started.
okay,
We can go with a couple of things on the agenda, and that be one of them.
yeah, sounds good. Sounds good. We're gonna go in this spring, that's another one, we're gonna go ahead and jump down the ditch and pull both sides of that first mile and a half. And shape it up, narrow it up just a little bit, and get it so it'll at least, if we gotta haul some gravel, we'll haul some gravel, but.
Are you gonna be bringing up too many, is that boulders in there and
Yeah.
barrels? That isn't?
No,
Oh, okay.
if it is, we'll kick them off.
Okay.
That's where our gravel's at, right down in the bottom, so. Okay,
We also got an email from a lady addressing you on the road out there regarding Jefferson County.
okay.
And it looked like she'd sent that to you also.
All right, okay, what was it?
I have to stop and drink. She actually lives in Jefferson County, but she drives through Broadwater. It was
It's
about,
the same issue we addressed a couple of years ago.
Mhm.
It's the road that connects onto Wheatland, right there at the border. And I gave him Franklin's phone number since it's his district, so Franklin probably has a little bit more information
I never got
than we
any
do
on
that's
this.
up to date.
Who was it? What was her name?
Erica, forget her last name. Franklin, did you speak with her? Do you have her name?
No,
What was the problem?
She wants more work done on that road so that it's
I never got anything on
a
that.
little bit more maintained.
Huh.
Same issues a couple of years ago.
And that's the one coming out of, that connects to,
I believe so. Yeah.
See, I don't know what exactly they're talking about. You know, we went in there and dumped some clay on it because it was washboarding all the time. Well, we went and dumped some clay on it, when we did that project on Rolling One Ranch Road. And then got a little muddy. Of course, we didn't have it mixed in right yet, but you know, it got a little bit muddy in spots, so then I heard about that, so. I actually went down, let's see, it was last spring, last summer, and we hauled a little bit of lime on it, white lime, just to clear the mud up, and, that actually worked pretty good. And I was down on there, well, it's been a month or so ago now, but.
I don't think the issue, you know, we had, like I said, we addressed this a couple of years ago,
Yeah.
but what I mean by that is not that nothing's been done. What I mean by that is it's a standing issue that the folks in Jefferson County would like Broadwater County to maintain their road so that they don't have to drive around.
And so they don't have to drive through that subdivision,
Right.
and get yelled at.
I get the impression she is either a title agent or a real estate agent. She said in the email she was doing some preliminary homework. So if she is in real estate or wanting to sell some of those lots, that might be why she's looking for more road
Okay.
maintenance.
All right.
I don't know that that's the case. That is the impression I got. There was no title to that effect on the email.
When did it come?
the email was sent probably 2 weeks ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and she followed up maybe Tuesday.
All right.
So
Well, I've been, to be honest with you, I've been getting a lot of spam mail.
Uh-huh.
I get like 150 of them a day,
holy cow.
of just junk. So I've been just going through, seeing what I need, what I don't need, and I've been deleting the rest. I might have deleted it if I got it, but I think I got that straightened out now, so.
Okay, we can re-forward it to you?
Yeah, let's do that,
Yeah,
at least so I know her name, what's going on.
Yeah,
yeah.
I'll check, I might, make a trip over there too.
Yeah. I don't know, you know, I mean, I know they're all county roads, I understand that. I got a real problem, in fact, I had a chat with Bernie Jones a year and a half ago about the same issue. I just got a problem with Jefferson County people because they moved out of Broadwater County because they didn't like it, and then now they want us to go down there and fix the road all the time when all it is Jefferson County right through it. But I
And
guess,
we've asked the commission to bring forward a proposal. When we see that, maybe it's something we can address.
yeah.
But until then, I'm with you. We've got enough Broadwater County roads for Broadwater County citizens to
Yeah.
maintain.
Yeah, and, you know, I mean, I know it's county road, it's Broadwater County Road, but it's through that last part of that subdivision that I wasn't even supposed to mess with anyway, and I did anyway. until the subdivision, West Side, or no, is it West Side Trails? What's the one over there?
I think it is West Side Trails.
Anyway, yeah. The one I'm talking about, I guess, before it was Mountain View Vista. And I've told Bernie, I says, go up through the subdivision, Bernie. I said, if you don't like the road, go through the subdivision. And he's complaining about, well, the highway patrolman over there, he's mad at him because they drive through, well, it's public road. Comes right off their property and goes right, you know, but they wanna take that, they built a mile of road, you know, down along through Jefferson County, just so they wouldn't have to go through the subdivision. Well, I had a hard time feeling sorry for him, so, anyway, regardless of that. Anyway, I guess that's about all I got right now. I'll just kind of work on this stuff, I'll work on that letter a little bit more and get it to where you guys can look at it, see what you say. I started out, it was a little 2.8, so I toned it back a little bit.
Might have to be that way to get their attention.
Well, that's what I'm wondering.
Also, you know, when we was down that day looking around, I haven't heard anything from Donnie Pinewood yet. Was you gonna put that letter or however was gonna, on that building, if we get any responses on putting that red iron up?
Oh, I don't know, I guess, I don't know. I wasn't planning on it,
We talked about that one day and I
but.
didn't know,
Yeah,
and I didn't follow up on it anymore either. I was gonna get back to you and I guess I haven't seen it till now actually, so, but I can get back with you on that.
yeah, and actually, that's probably something for you guys to do, maybe. I mean, it's kind of county catch-all, I guess, maybe, I don't know. So,
And if we're gonna pursue something like that, we need to put it to a vote and bring it before the public.
yeah, whatever. I also got some traffic data coming from Sean Bryan on that Goose Bay Road. He's supposed to be getting it to me here, if he doesn't get it to me next day or so, I'll give him another call. But they've got traffic data on that road for past probably 15 years.
Just share that with us when you get it, that'll help,
Yeah.
okay?
Well, that's why I thought I'd talk to him about it, just to get the stuff, and then that way we know exactly how many cars are going over that thing in a day, you know, and through the summer months. You know, there's a bunch of them.
Mhm.
And mainly on the weekends, but there's still quite a few.
Absolutely.
So I'm kind of thinking it's real close to that 400 ABT, so
Yeah, it wouldn't be a good surprise.
it might not be, but it's got to be pretty close to one. Anyway. Plowing a little snow today.
Is it deep up high?
No, it's just a few little problems, little icy spots.
What time of year?
Yeah. Could have been worse, I guess, but that's all right.
Thanks, Dana.
Yep.
Thank you.
Hey, Mike.
How you doing, Dan?
Don't think it really pertains to that.
Okay.
Yeah. Good morning.
Morning.
My concrete DES update.
Let's see, I think the last time I was in here, Commissioner Slick asked me for something. EMPG grant award. And then something to do with scope of work. I found those documents. And let's see, scope of work was prepared first on June 25th. of 12.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And then what that was, what a scope of work does is when we apply for these grant applications, that's the first document that kind of, I think Bill put this together, kind of the things he wanted to work on, and then submits it to the commissioners, and then they submit it to the Montana DES. And then the grant award itself, the grant agreement was not awarded until October 17th,
Thank you.
2012.
Thank you.
And most of this stuff here is just small print that talks about all the requirements and stuff. And we are in a new grant period. That grant is closed out. We're in a new grant period. And I have not received a reward on that yet. We applied October 16th of last year for it. And there's some matching plans. I talked about Fry last week, and Bob Fry said the state of Montana, DES has not issued those awards to the county. They should be coming, they're waiting for, usually we have a continuing resolution. They were waiting for Congress to pass a budget, and they did about 2 weeks ago, so that should come forth. Any questions on that for anybody? This is a little something I
Thank
put
you.
together today. It's the DES office, the authority for the office, and then our mission statement. As you can see there, in 1985, the county and city entered an interlocal agreement to cooperate on providing disaster services pursuant to Title 10, Chapter 3, Parts 1, 2, and 3. The mission, the DES mission, is to protect the health and lives of the people of Broadwater County, their property, and the environment by preparing for the threats and hazards that pose the greatest risk to the community. We have 5 mission areas, which falls at the federal law, prevention, protection, mitigation, response, and recovery. And our guiding principles, we have about 5 of them there. We recognize that emergency preparedness is a shared responsibility of the whole community, individual citizens, families, private, nonprofit sector, faith-based organizations, local, state, federal government. 2, we facilitate preparedness by working together in a collaborative effort to develop and maintain all hazard emergency plans for the community. 3, we build a unity of effort to develop emergency training and scenarios for emergency response partners. 4, we acknowledge that we will have to call upon mutual aid resources as local resources are limited. And number 5, we provide support and assistance to elected officials, Broadwater County, cities, and towns before, during, and after emergency situations. That's kind of a boilerplate. Here I put together a little bit. I came on the job, let's see, August 12th last year, this year, DES coordinator. And these are the things that, projects we've either done or we're working on. Right away, I approached the commission about appointing 2 deputy DES coordinators, and did that. You have Julie and you have Virginia, and we're putting together a DES coordinators handbook, guidebook, that if I'm out of town, the 2 coordinators will, if I'm out of town, they'll know I'll be out of town, as well as the chairperson and the mayor of the city will know I'll be out of town. There's a particular reason who's going to be the duty officer. And this is basically a DES guidebook that covers all the different information they need to know. Also has copies of our emergency operations plan. This is a floppy disk for that. If you want to take that home, if you lose the courthouse for some particular reason, you put it in the record. In case something happens, and you had down in your office, and I'll have a hard copy of that. That's the electronic version of it, in case we have to evacuate town. Let's see, the planning efforts, you kind of run over that. I know I don't have much time, kind of running late this morning. We have our monthly local emergency planning committee meetings, which is always third Thursday, 3 p.m. over in Forest Service Building. Worked on the EMPG grant application for this year. Half of that's federal funding from FEMA, and the other half from county funds. Worked on exercise design committee for the Broadwater House of Evacuation to be updated. We're in the process of updating the community wildfire protection plan. That's at Title 3 money. We also are working with the school. They have a low power emergency radio station, and we're looking at different satellite transformers. We've applied for some licensing. We haven't heard back from the FCC on those locations. We have an animal or pet evacuation plan in progress, and we're also going to review and update our hazardous materials response plan. Montana Rail Link got a hold of me, as well as all the communities from Billings all the way to the western end of the state. They want to get together with the different communities and talk about perhaps a rail accident involving the petroleum that they're hauling. If you notice trains coming through here, there's more and more tank cars on that, so they're hauling more and more petroleum products. Some of it is from the Balkan, because they don't have enough traffic because of the Amtrak and everything on the northern route. That's the northern up there. So they bring them down through Bellington, through here. You can see them. And that oil is, crude oil is quite sweet, which has a lot of gas in it. If it derails, it'll probably be a terrible fire See, that was in North Dakota, I wasn't much. Last one I had one up before that. So they kinda wanna work with the communities on that. Our training exercises, we kind of go through those. We've done, the most important ones we did was, of course, the hospital evacuation. Skip over there, Dawson Dam, emergency action plan with DNRC. We had a ICS 200 class just last week. We had quite a few deputies, EMTs, firefighters take that. And then we did a pipeline emergency response tabletop over in Hello with partners up there. In case we have a Delta pipeline leak or a petroleum leak right here in town, which I don't know if you remember, we did at one time, quite a few years ago. We evacuated about a quarter of the town at that time. Mitigation projects we're working on, we participate in the monthly Tri-County Fire Safe meetings, which are held over in Helen on the second Thursday, 9 a.m. there at the Elizabeth County EOC, working on the Deep Creek Restoration Grant Project. And then we, of course, working on fuel mitigation projects, which involve Title III. We have collaboration efforts with the Rural Fire District, working on response preparedness and their interoperability, radio communications, working with the Soil Conservation District, the Deep Creek FEMA Restoration Project, working with the EMTs, Bethlehem Health Center staff, and then, of course, our partners in District 3, our Jason County and stuff. And then work with the Montana State Emergency Response Commission. That's our hazmat response. We need a hazmat team in here. We would call one either from Helen or response. They would handle the delicate technical hazmat response part of our fire department. Would provide decontaminate, decon for people. We have a trailer for that. Let's see, educational and community preparedness. We've had some LEPC articles in the 2 newspapers, and that's kind of the deadlines on those. And when I first got into this job, it took me about 3 or 4 months to figure out what was going on and get my feet on the ground. There were projects popping up that I didn't know that were in progress. But I think we're getting a pretty good idea, handle on what's going on, and we've got a pretty good glide path of which direction we want to go. And let's see, I have an interim position, and I think we probably want to think about which is good for a whole year. There's been some talk about different people that would like to apply for positions, permanent positions. I told them we have to do some commissioners on that. But I think we want to do, I'd like to do for this DES agency is kind of take a look at it, maybe real closely at the end of the fiscal year, perhaps in June, and look and see if we're getting our money's worth. See if we haven't got any reimbursement yet from Montana DES on our EMPG grant, although we're submitting quarterly reimbursement requests. I think that's going to come through real soon. Very hopeful there. You know, they did release the FEMA money through the Deep Creek grant, restoration project, and I kind of want to look at the agency and see if it should be funded at halftime or perhaps less, and see how you want to handle the organization and look at developing our. We have an interim DES position description. As a commission, you probably want to look at that and update that, a type of position. We might want to look at, part-time DES coordinator and perhaps somebody else. There seems to be a lot of clerical work in this position. I think we ought to maybe consider renaming it from DES coordinator to DES clerk. But instead of funding the position, maybe at the halftime, maybe less than halftime, type person. There's a lot of work I'm still learning on what needs to be required for this federal fund. And I have a lot to learn yet. But anyway, I feel good about what we're doing, the direction we're going. And I know you got somebody else on the agenda, I'm probably already chewing into their time. If you have any questions for me?
I don't.
Thank you.
You're welcome. We're doing good on our budget. We don't expect to spend it all. Very conservative fiscally. At this time, it's a temporary job, and we have to see how we get reimbursement from federal funds and see where we want to go in the future. That's a decision the commission will have to make along with their partners in the community, like sheriff, the mayor, and fire department.
Absolutely. But your input, your expertise will be essential in making that decision as far as a restructure or even addressing a restructure.
But I think we want to
Appreciate
do
your
that
time.
around the end of the fiscal year. Meantime, we'll just keep, I like to just keep doing what we're doing, if that's okay with this commission. Rob, I work for you and the mayor, I guess.
Yes, we will have to check with JPIA, the insurance carrier, just see
Absolutely.
what the structure is, what the legal parameters are.
Sure.
But, no, you've been doing an awesome job.
Thank
So,
you for your time.
Yeah, thank you.
You bet.
Thanks, Mike.
You're sure welcome. Bye now.
All right, next on the agenda is John Walsh, rodeo lease contract at fairgrounds. Come on up, John.
Hard word to say,
Well, you know, I'm used to the other word.
tongue-tied.
Exactly, big tongue.
Hi. I don't know whether you had time to look at our old lease, any of you picked it up, it's registered here. I did pick up one copy and was gracious enough to make a copy. I seem to have misplaced them all. And it runs from May the 5th for a 5-year term. It is up May of this year. And we would like to extend it and get a new lease for a 10-year term instead of a 5-year term. The reason being on a 10-year term is been working with the Fair Board and one thing and another. Last year we did had the 50th year, so we did the free concert for the community as a give back for the support that they've given us. And actually what the Fair Board and Rodeo Board has kind of talked about, one thing and another, was to do that every 5 years. And if we have you need in order to get your entertainment lined out, one thing that you need about a 3-year lead time. And if we only have a 5-year, well, it's not going to give us much time to get much done. And that's one of the reasons. This is the new contract with the amendment. It's really not an amendment, I guess. We just simply changed on page 2 from 5 years to 10 years. That's the only change in it. And I wanted to point that out. We'd like to get this signed as quick as possible so we can start our advertising. We'd like to start selling ads and one thing or another for the program and the arena signs out there. I'd like to start selling them in March because everybody generally has their advertising budget pretty well set by the first of the year, but if we start in March rather than wait until after May, then not only that, if we need signs, new arena signs, painted and one thing and another, if we're not getting them sold until June and the rodeo's in July, we don't get them done.
Wait until after May, you're too late.
That's right, exactly. So that's one of the reasons we'd like to get back on an earlier time frame rather than wait until May. And like I say, the only thing that has changed in this thing is the term of it, going from a 5-year to a 10-year. I did, I don't know if you read the city council minutes, but I went to them the first of the month and presented it with them, and they're taking it under advisement. I gave them a copy and one thing and another, and they're gonna be in touch with me probably the next meeting, so that they circulate it. And I would imagine that you folks want to do the same thing, is make sure that we haven't done anything in here, and one thing or another that's surprising. But you'll find that we didn't. The only thing we did is that. There is, I did go on Google and I took a picture of the fairgrounds. And these are the buildings, the ones that are in black are the ones that the county of the fairgrounds. Everything else for us is lined up in the exhibit A of what the government does own out there.
Madam Chair?
Absolutely.
Our insurance agent was here about 2 weeks ago, and some of the stuff is not insured. I guess she got a hold of Mel and he said, no, we don't insure it anymore.
Probably for fire insurance and one thing or another. We checked before this we ran into this one other time, and we checked with this because it is a leased property from the city county, that your insurance, if there's a fire or anything, your insurance covers it. And it's just double insurance. is all.
Even if we don't have it named.
Even if you don't have it named, that's what they claim. And we checked with that. That's one of the things that was a sticking point in the last negotiations on the contract. That was one of the things that our lawyer, the rodeo club's lawyer, and the county attorney at that time got together, and that's what they determined in talking to the insurance company. So that was addressed at that time. It's not specifically addressed in the lease, but that was what they said, and that's why we didn't, there's not much sense of having double coverage on it, because,
No.
you know, it's a waste of money, our money anyway. And one of the things that we have found, I thought we had everything totally settled with articles in the paper and one thing and another. There's still a real misconception in the county that the county owns that whole facility and everything out there, and why do they have to pay $5 for 3 hours to use the barn when it's county money that owns it, and therefore they're paying taxes and they shouldn't have to pay for it. But we do have the policy. The Fair Board are the ones that control the county buildings. The Fair Board turned the large barn over to us, the roping barn over to the rodeo club, and we maintain it. We pay the lights on it and all the power and one thing and another. If there's a major item, like we did roll-up door here several years ago, and that was just a joint deal with the Fair Board, that expenditure. And there is talk of possibly, that was in the south end, there is talk of possibly doing that in the north end, they'd like to help with that. And if that's the case, that's about $7,000. And if that's the case, then the Fair Board said that they would probably check their budget and see if they could do a joint project on it. There's no reason we can't get along, and we have been getting along. I'm president now. I resigned a couple of years ago, and one thing and another, and everything was going good. And the last president kind of started taking things downhill, so everybody decided I need to get back in there. I'm not sure it's a good idea. But anyway, but that's kind of where we stand, and we'd really like to get the perception out there that the Fair Board and the Rodeo Board are working very well together. We all get along, and there's no squabbles and one thing and another, and we're not taking anything from them, and they're not taking anything from us. And they're backing us all the way. Vince Thompson is the go-between. He sits on both boards. I've been attending all the Fair Board meetings and one thing and another, so there's no problems with it. They know what we're doing, we know what they're doing. And now you guys probably know what we're doing. And if there's any questions, feel free to call me. I don't have a landline, all I do is have a cell phone anymore. But I think everybody in the county probably knows it.
You got another copy, any extra copies of that lease there?
I do have one more copy, I can get another copy.
We can actually have copies made here and will, because the three of us need to read through both contracts, Franklin.
I did,
As long as they're gonna be
Decision.
made, that's okay.
Yeah.
I didn't bring a copy for everybody.
Yeah, we have a copy
I've
machine.
been,
we can use.
right,
Yeah.
a lot of people say, well, you know, I don't need a copy, and one thing or another, I'll read that, and all you're doing, wasting paper, killing trees, and one thing or another. So, I didn't expect a signature today and one thing or another, but I do hope you'll get back with me as quick as you can. Like I say, I'm gonna talk to, and it will be registered again at the downstairs, so that there's no problem.
Have you guys talked about, I didn't look at the new contract, but, 5 years ago, there was that team put
That
together
was a
city.
committee. The committee did not sign it anywhere or anything. It was strictly signed by the individuals.
Okay,
The committee was simply, I don't know how much you want to get into that. There was a conflict between some of the commissioners and rodeo members, and that is why we strictly went to a committee which involved, we had to get a lawyer. I don't know how well you remember in one thing and another, but there was a big sticking point of who owned what out there and one thing and another. And that's why we went and got a lawyer, we hired our own lawyer, and we had the lawyer attend, and at that time, John was the county attorney, and he attended, and I believe Gail was on the committee, and I'm not sure who from the city was on the committee, but Vince was on. I was president at the time, but we had a real conflict with some of the other people, so I bowed out and let it set in. And they hammered it out and they worked it out. I mean, John is the one that came to the agreement that this is the way it should be. And it was acceptable with our lawyer and everybody on board. So that's why the committee, we don't have, that committee is dissolved. That was simply set up to get the contract. And then,
Okay.
of course, once the contract was in place and signed by the commission, the city, and the rodeo, then it was dissolved.
Yeah, and you're right, it is just the three
Right.
on here, so, no, it's wonderful to see some of the claims coming through, which are joint rodeo fair projects, attending the conferences, on behalf of both. Absolutely, yeah.
Well-
So kudos to you guys.
One thing that a lot of people don't understand is the county money that's going out there is just for the buildings that the county has. We're unique in this area. If you check with all of the other entities around, and one thing and another, and the communities around that put these on, they're actually put on by the county. Most of them are all county employees in one thing and another. They get county funds to put the rodeo on. And whenever you go to the conferences and one thing and another, they're flabbergasted that we're a private entity and one thing and another, and the county puts on the fair and we put on the rodeo and one thing and another, and they can't believe we get along. That's kind of the way it is in small communities. You have to.
Yeah. Well, we will put this on the agenda, we will get copies for all three of us so that we can read it over, know what we're signing, and then bring it to a vote, and keep you in the loop.
Okay.
We are gone next week, so we'll get
Okay.
it on the agenda for the next Monday,
Right,
17th, 18th,
for February.
yeah, day after President's Day.
Day after Christmas.
Yeah.
I believe I'm going to the council on the 11th. We're having a meeting, Rodeo Club's having a meeting on the 10th. And I'm going back to the council on the 11th. And if it's agreeable for everybody, what we'll do is get one copy rather than they sign a copy and you sign a copy. We'll let them sign theirs if they're first, and then we'll bring that copy into you folks, and you folks can sign it. And then at that time, the Rodeo Club will sign it, and we'll have it registered in downstairs so that everybody has access to it that wants it.
John, would you like to just set up a time right now?
We could.
The 18th?
That'd be fine,
Okay, what
Appreciate
time
it.
works for you?
anytime.
How about 10:15?
That'll work great.
All right. All right.
Okay?
I just have to say the concert after was fabulous.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, nicely done.
We never got as many people there. It was advertised when it was free, but we never got as many people there as we'd have liked to see there. But the people that went to it thought it was fantastic. They all wanted us to do it again this year, but we just couldn't afford it. That cost us $16,000 to bring those guys in here
Wow.
with the stage. The stage was 5 and they were 11. Actually, they were 11.5, we had to give 500 to the front man and one thing. But the county put in 4, and then we gathered the rest, the Rotary Club gathered the rest of the money. So that's how it was. But it was a give back to the community for the support and one thing, and the support of everybody. And we appreciate your support too.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Yes.
Thanks, John.
Yeah.
Thanks, John.
Thank you.
So that you have it. This as well. All right, next on the agenda is Greg Norsby, Bridge Street in Toston. And I have to apologize to you, Nicole has a family emergency today, so she will not be here with us.
All right, well, I made some copies of, I don't know where we're at, I guess last we left was.
Thank you.
I don't think there's ever been any real decision that I heard anyways, or maybe you guys can fill me in differently. But I referenced a little bit of what Nicole passed on to us last time, looked up some off of the deeds, there's a this exhibit A is an attachment to, the deed between, I guess Jeannie Mitchell and Bill Lane. Track D is the one that's in question, and it's not the whole tract, it's just that little piece that's highlighted on the front map of, would be the little highlighted piece of track D. I guess it's for track D. There's, where it says track D in the deed, it just refers this action filed in book 64, page 437, and book 61, page 451. The deeds are back here behind there that they reference to. I put the tract up top, that it was, the ones that they reference or have a highlight mark on them. The book 64, page 436, has absolutely nothing to do with that property. It's some, well, you can read it, it's some
Mining claim.
agreement for a mining claim use for a smelter trading, somebody out of Colorado or someplace. It just has nothing to do with that property. The next deed that they reference is, it's track E is what that deed actually goes with, which is the next property off of Hill Street. It's a quitclaim deed from Johnson to Greaves for his piece of Bridge Street. So it's given his half of Bridge Street away. But as I go through, there's nothing, if Hill Street is in fact open like everybody says it is, there's nothing giving the half of Hill Street to anybody. So that half of Hill Street, or that half of Bridge Street that connects to Hill Street, there's nothing that gives that to Greaves or to anybody else, to Lane or anybody. So in the retracement survey, which is what we pretty much have here, I can't find anything where there's a grantor of that property that passes it to anybody. So if you have which there is a deed filed on it, but where did the deed originate is the question at hand, I guess, is where did the surveyor come up with that legal description? Because I certainly can't find it when they reference those places on track D here to come up with a legal description. You got some mining claim out of Colorado or someplace that they're referencing, that has nothing to do with it. So that obviously doesn't make a legal description that you can survey by. And then the next one is for lots 1 and 2, for the attached piece of Bridge Street to 1 and 2, which doesn't give you legal rights to the end of Hill Street. So there's really nothing that creates a legal description for track D, if that makes any sense. So we're kind of at the same place. Yes, there's a current deed that was written. It's not a 30-year-old deed. It was written back, this was back in '01, I think, is when it was. I think what happened was the retracement survey happened when Bill Lane was purchasing it from Jeannie Mitchell, I believe is how it went. So the retracement survey happened, and they just included that all of whatever Bridge Street they felt like taking is what it seems like, and that included that small portion at the end of Hill Street, which is the piece that's in question. I'm not arguing the fact that there's not quitclaim deeds on track E. There's one on track C that I found that goes the church gave, and that's included in your paperwork here. Track C has a quitclaim deed also from the church out there. But with those being able to be found, there's still no deed. And that's also not taken into the fact that the street technically was never vacated, it was just closed, which doesn't really give the right to anybody to write a deed on it at that point, because it was just closed it's in the resolution 8108. That I don't have, I didn't copy that whole piece for you guys. I think you had it from when Nicole had all of that. But that resolution is, the actual voting on it was here when they closed the street, was in 1981. They talked about it in 55, it didn't happen, they never officially made a resolution to close it. And then they brought it back up in 81, closed the street, didn't vacate it, they just closed it. And then from there, it was, before anything else that I can come up with deed-wise, it was into 2000, 2001, and then when it changed hands again from Mitchell to Lincoln. Very small portion of property,
Right.
you know, it's
I
30
think-
feet by 70 feet.
Should give this to the county attorney and have her get this squared around. It's been going on now for
Quite a
not,
while.
almost a year, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. Here's another, same thing you guys have, if you wanna pass that to the county attorney, is fine. It will give you the same thing, everybody's got access to it downstairs, but it saves
Right.
some legwork anyways, and, so, yeah, I don't,
I wonder if that one part that isn't in there, if you wanna make it, go downstairs and make a copy of that and have that with it, then was it?
this has all of the, in fact, I think I have another one of these, if you guys wanna keep this one, I have another copy just like this. This would be the 55, and in 55, when they talked about closing both Hill Street and Bridge, which is, I know the attorney has looked at that because she's the one that came up with the fact that, yeah, they were talking about it, but then when they did it, they only closed Bridge Street, not Hill Street. And, which is, you know, that became fine with everybody. And then goes through, but they never voted on it, and then it comes up to this April 2nd of 81, when they were, actually voted on it, made the resolution, and then here's the resolution here, and there's the streets in, that are in.
How would it be if you just had him, in case she doesn't have one, have some copies made down at the clerk reporter's office.
Mhm.
Maybe as you leave, if you could have
Do you
extra
want
copies.
to?
I have a copy of this, if,
Okay, can I put that in the packet then?
yeah, whoever, whether you guys want, I mean, I can go down and make copies and bring them back
I
up
think
to
that
you,
4
or,
copies should be made.
or
There,
however,
whatever we can have one.
you want me to
We
just go
already
down and
have
them?
copies of that. I don't want, I mean, you can certainly go down and do it, there is a charge. But if you let
Well,
me
it
just
should
put
be
it
a
in.
charge on this is all county stuff anyway.
Well, I can just leave them
If
with
county
you guys
stuff,
and you can.
we already have copies, Franklin, so we don't have to make any more. If we're making more, just to be making more, there does have to be a charge. Greg says he already has a copy of this, and he has said we can go ahead and put it in the packet, so
Okay, if you're
why
sure
do
you
we
got the
need-
copy,
I have
you.
one, I have another copy
Okay.
like this. But, yeah, just as long as, I mean, if you three want this to be referenced, and then you give it to, the
County
attorney,
attorney,
then, right, then you won't have it, so as long
You
as
need copies?
somebody.
I think we should, yeah.
We already have copies, but if you wanna go down and I
Well,
think it's 50 cents for
No,
the first
don't,
one
there's
and
not gonna be a
quarter
charge.
from
As far as
there.
I'm concerned, there's no charge on it.
Franklin, just because
Just
people
because-
come in who are your friends doesn't mean that we circumvent the
We're not
restrictions and
circumventing anything.
regulations.
We're trying to get this thing done. It's been going on for
Hey,
almost a
you-
year.
You need to act professional. Everybody needs to be treated the exact same as everyone else.
And I think
When there is a
We are. That's
policy
what we're
in
working
this
on.
county
For $2
that there is a
or
cost for
copies,
charges or for
I
copies,
can cover
then
it.
that needs to apply to everyone, Franklin.
I'll get it.
It's-
If everybody has already gotten a copy, it's our responsibility to keep that, so we don't keep charging the taxpayers because we can't keep ourselves organized.
It's all right, we'll make the copies,
I'll
that's
make the
okay
copies.
enough.
That would be
It's not a
absolutely
problem.
fine. We will pass the
I just wanna be
information
sure
on,
everybody has them. Is it,
and we do.
is that something that, at this point, where does it lie with you guys? I mean, where the county attorney is, I don't know where it's deciding, because everything has been right along it's been passed down that a connecting piece of property to a closed road goes to the connecting landowner. The connecting piece of this is Hill Street, which is a county road, so the connecting piece of bridge would go to the landowner, which is the county, because it's the connecting. So it's again, another, I just don't wanna see it as more kicking of the can, because it's where we reference with Nicole, and then we go to the attorney, and then we go with Mako, and everybody's given things as far as pieces of this puzzle. And at some point, it's gonna have to lie with somebody to make some form of a decision, whether, you know what, yeah, it's a false deed, or it's not a false deed, or it is, or there was a mistake made by the surveyor. I just wonder where from here this,
I'd say the county attorney is gonna have to come up with some kind of decision. If she can't do it, she's gonna have to go to,
because it's
being
been,
the officer where she has to go to get the final okay on this, final resolution.
All right, Elaine.
This has been going on for how long?
well, we've been dealing, a year probably.
I think we were on the agenda in March of last year. I think is when
It's
I
been
first brought it
close
to your attention.
Close to a year.
And Nicole's been involved, right?
She didn't get involved
She-
until later, until,
She was after the, it was,
August, September?
yeah, sometime in August maybe, she was gonna, when the commission decided, or it was handed down from the attorney, that the street was still open, that Hill Street was still open, then Nicole happened to be at the meeting downstairs, and she said, oh, I can explain it to the Norsbys of how it is then, because the street's still open. Because originally, the streets were thought to be closed, possibly, Hill Street and Bridge Street. So she was gonna explain that Hill Street was still open, so it's kind of a moot point that the county doesn't give deeds on streets, and which is understandable, I guess, as it is explained through Mako, and everybody else has explained it, that there is no deeds on streets, closed or otherwise, there's no deeds written on streets. So, with that being said, then the adjoining property owner gets the half of a vacated street. Well, all of that, as it came from all of the powers to be, from the attorney and everybody, it ended up that end of Hill Street, that abuts Bridge Street that is closed, should have stayed with Hill Street, as in the eyes of the way it's been explained to me, is that should be attached to Hill Street. So that was kind of our last thing. It came from Mako, came from Nicole. She sat here and was trying to explain that we don't need to go back on 30-year-old deeds and this and that. Well, it's a deed from 2000. If it's wrong, it's wrong. I mean, whether it's 30 years old or 5 years old or 1 year old, it would be no different than me writing a deed on a piece of Bridge Street that's, well, right next to us, the water company has a lot. Bridge Street butts the back of their lot. If you're saying that they can just write a deed anywheres on that street and take whatever piece they want and file it, as far as I know, you need a grantor and a grantee to file a deed. It couldn't have happened here because the county doesn't give deeds on streets. So it was taken wrongly, but for the same, it would be like me writing a deed on a legal description on the end of the water company's lot that butts Bridge Street and taking their half of what would be their abutment to the street, filing the deed and making it mine. And it's not the way it works. I mean, that doesn't work that way. It goes to the adjoining landowner, and unless it's deeded from that point, I guess, is according to these other deeds, that would be what's happening there. But I can't find a deed where the county gave their end of Hill Street, where it butts Bridge.
How did a mining claim get in?
I don't have any idea, that's what they reference
That's what they
there.
reference.
It almost seems that, and it almost seems as though you just throw a couple of numbers down and make a legal description and then file it, is what it seems. I mean, that's what I'm seeing there. I don't know if it was a legitimate mistake or if it was what it was. When you pull that deed up, what they're referencing, it's what I have there, a mining claim, the rights to a smelter or something. And I mean, it's out of Colorado or something, that has nothing to do with Toston. So I don't know. I can say how I came up with the church deed, and I think it might be what has happened, but on this here, the deed that was written for the church, if you look at this, it almost looks like book 64, page 437, and it's in fact book 61. So maybe it was transposed wrongly, I don't know, I don't know. That's why I copied both pieces for you to see, because if it has if there's a reference to this, it doesn't even pertain to the property that they made the legal description out of. And I think Nicole has tried to explain it that the surveyor just did what was on the legal description. But I don't think we know where the legal description came up. It's almost like the chicken and the egg thing. We're not sure if they went out and went over what should be theirs and said, okay, yeah, well, you go straight down here right up to the shed and then over and that's what's ours, or if they read a legal description. If they read something off of deeds, you can't come up with that end of Hill Street being anything that you would survey. So there's a question there of how it happened and why it happened, and more so what you guys may be able to do about it so we can get into our garage. That's really the biggest thing, is just that
It's so convoluted.
Just for the
That's
little
why
tiny
I
piece.
wanted, right,
Yeah.
and then, you know, it's a 30 by 70 piece of ground is what it is, 30 feet by 70 feet. Very, very small. A lot of houses are bigger than that. So it's a very small piece of ground. It's the end of a road, but it's not like it's nice green lush grass or anything, it's just the end of a road. And it takes in where the access to the garage is. So I think there's a lot of different things that would feed into it as far as being the way it was closed. It takes a certain amount of the adjoining landowners to close a road. Greaves was the only one that had signed the petition to close the road. I'm not even arguing the fact that the road's not closed. It's more that the end of it is your guys' as a county, because you still have Hill Street open and half of Bridge should have went with it. But there is still some foggy issues with closing the road the way they did. I mean, it's just very, very gray, the whole bit of it.
Hey, Greg, last time you guys were here, I think we had Bernadette and Nicole both, and they had spoken to Bill Lane, who said he was happy to talk with you guys about that piece of property for your garage. Have you spoken with him?
No,
There's
because
no need
it's
for
not
us
our
to-
property.
Not our
I mean, I don't
property.
see, that's what Nicole said, is that Bill told her he'd be happy to make a deal with me. And I don't know how that's my piece of property to make a deal on it. A deal means that I'll sell you something, I mean, or we'll trade, or we'll do something along that lines. I don't know what else the deal would be, and I don't know how I make a deal on a piece of, that's the county's. It's not like I can take ownership of that property, it's not anybody's. That's kind of my point here, is it's not anybody's to have ownership of except for the county, because it's adjoining your property. The adjoining landowner gets half of the closed street, and that's what we're talking about, is that half of Bridge Street that adjoins county property. So I don't see how I can make a deal with them on it. You know,
There's no
I
deal
just-
to be made.
I
is
just
what
don't
I'm
see how
hearing.
there's a deal to be made, and I'm not looking to buy a piece of, that's not saleable. I mean, why would I wanna, you know, whether it's $100 or $1,000, whatever it is, so I can get into my garage, I don't feel that you can fence the end that was a piece of county road and then charge a tax to get in there. I mean, I just don't think that's a proper, you know, for me to have to pay something to be able to get into the garage doesn't seem proper.
Can you use the garage now?
Well,
Yes and no.
you couldn't put a car in there. You can get a four-wheeler in. The way Bill was nice about it and came 10 feet out from the door and angled his fence instead of coming over to the door. So in good faith, he did that when he fenced the thing. We didn't own it at that point, but when he built the fence, he did that for, I guess for Knobs, because they owned it at that point. And Scotty Knob wasn't around. He was already gone from the area, is why you probably didn't get visited at that point, because he wasn't happy about it happening. And it was kind of, well, I'm already gone, and, you know, I'm not gonna put a big effort into fighting over it if that's the case, so.
One thing with this, Elaine, and you may have been ill when we addressed this in the past, but we visited about this a couple of times. Just so that you guys know, Franklin did task Nicole with going back through those deeds to find if there was anything more that we could do. She has looked at it a couple of times, so has Bernadette with Schauber Surveying. She went back over the deeds again, but we will certainly give this information that you brought forth today, and if you do make copies of that packet, we'll attach it to it and see if there's anything more that we can do for you, and as soon as we get an answer, we'll let you know.
How long of a time frame are we looking at? mean,
I
roughly?
don't know. There's, we will get this, our part of this taken care of this afternoon. So for that, a couple hours. Beyond that, I don't have an answer for you.
It's, as far as like resurveying off of that amendment there, it's, I've read through the legal description and traced it around the map. It's, that piece of road is on that there. It's that, goes into that track D. It falls into that as a description. But what gave the right for it to get into that description is what's at question. What, you know, there's the piece next to it, they have a quitclaim deed on, and then the piece, 2 pieces down from the church, they have a quitclaim deed on. They don't have it on.
So what is
the
the
end of Hill
follow-up
Street.
question specifically you would like to put to the county attorney?
Who owns
on
the
this?
property? Who owns it?
Why?
Who owns it right now?
Who owns Hill
Right.
Street? Well, no, I mean, Hill Street is not closed, honey. If Hill
It's
Street
not
is,
who owns it right now on that deed is
Bill Lane.
Bill Lane,
But
but
who
the
was the
question
grantor
is
and
why,
grantee?
right, what gave them the right to write a deed on it is what it boils down to, because if you can just write a deed on a closed street and then come and file it without having a grantee, you know, you need both, a grantee and a grantor. So, yeah, where did the rights lie in taking the property? At the
And
end
some
of,
things done in
of a county
1955 and 81 were not nearly as structured as they are today. So we'll see if we can get any more details on that. It is what it is. The good old days when things are a little bit more
55,
loosey-goosey.
it didn't
Um,
happen,
Didn't
that
happen
was
in
just the
55.
closing.
That's when the first step was, and
It
then I
never
think, was it
happened.
81 that the
It
second
was the-
step
The
was?
closing of the street
So,
was in 55.
We can get, while I'm saying this, we can get what we can get. It may not have the same structure today, so we may not be able to get you as much detail as we would if it happened today. But are there any other questions you want specifically
I would like-
answered?
I would like to know, so once you guys review this,
Mhm.
where does it go from here? Where are you taking it, right after you guys review this and make your yay or nay, where does it go from here?
We are gonna take it straight to the county attorney and the county land use planner.
So that's Nicole, and we're talking about Mrs. Bossy,
Correct.
okay? And then when do you anticipate having a questionable time frame? We need a time frame.
I don't know, what
Do
do
you guys
you,
have a time frame?
I just-
Because I
Shouldn't
don't.
take that long.
No, other than the county attorney has been out sick with some major surgery, so I wanna say carefully a month, but I wouldn't.
Well, she isn't sick now, is she? Is
I
she
think
sick
she's
now?
still having problems.
Hold on, guys.
So
Let's answer
the
this
best
question
we
first.
can do is a guess, unless you guys have something concrete that you can, share with these folks about anything that I'm not aware of. The thing is all the elected officials are on an even keel. So we don't have supervision or the right legally to tell another elected official what to do. So you're asking us to tell you what another
I'm not asking
employees
that, I'm asking a
can
time
do.
frame roughly.
And that's, I can't give it to you, Heather, because I don't know what her time frame is. I have no authority as the commission chair, and we have no authority as the commission to demand that we have a time frame. So at this point, I don't know unless you guys have any insight that you can offer.
I guess as soon as we get the information, we'll be more than happy to call you.
So what are you, I guess what, I know, in
And
reversing the question back to you, that you just asked me, what are you gonna ask them that, because Nicole sat here and told you that going back on a 30-year-old deed is a slippery slope to tread on, and that's fine, I guess. Partially, it's not a 30-year-old deed, so, you know, that has to be taken into account. I don't know where the time frame lies then, where do you come out of the slippery slope on an old deed? Is it a day old? So as soon as it's filed, then going back on it is not, or is a slippery slope? I mean, is there a time frame on looking back at a deed that was erroneously filed?
Greg, I'm gonna give you an answer that you're not gonna necessarily like, but it's the honest truth. We have met with this on this issue with you guys a variety of times. We're gonna turn in all the paperwork you've given us, as well as the one you're gonna make copies of. We're gonna turn it directly into the county attorney. We're gonna pose to her what your questions are. As far as overriding the land use planner or the county attorney, we're not gonna do it. We're not experts on deeds, and we don't know what happened 30 years ago. So we are over time on our agenda. If you guys have anything new that we can offer or any additional questions, we are more than happy to put those to her. But as far as this commission, we are obligated to listen to the county attorney when making legal decisions, and we are wise to listen to the land use county planner when it comes to making these other types of decisions. So this isn't something that we can make a blanket decision on today. The best we can do for you is pass it along with your questions.
So what was the response you're gonna ask her? What was my question that I were
The
posing
questions
to
you've
her?
posed so far is, of course, we're gonna explain that there's new documentation that you brought forward. Who owns Hill Street was Heather's question. Who was the grantor and who was the grantee?
Of Hill
And what-
Street.
Of Hill Street, and what is the time frame? And do you have?
Time frame, meaning what? That they'll get
That's
back
what
to
you
us?
were asking
To get back to
for.
the Norseys.
Okay, time frame to get back to
Well, we'll
Norsby's.
know that when they answer. We don't, that's not a question to pose.
Well, we would like to
them.
give it put back on the agenda then, is my point.
So-
And my other thing is, we need, I personally need to know and everything, so I know the next step that we need to take in our action. That's the reason why I'm asking you that. And it might not be a very good action.
And that's fine. We can't give you anything
That's okay,
more
we've
on
been
that.
dealing with this for a whole year now.
Right. So, if you could get us the copies for that document, we will attach to this and take it directly to the county attorney.
Has Susan Swindler looked at this at all?
She has worked extensively with both Bernadette and Nicole on this. So it's one of those things where, again, the good old days, things just weren't done as they should have been.
When did they end? Was it after 2001 or
What's that?
the good old days? Did they end from 2001 until now? Because that's when the deed was.
All right, have a great day, you guys, thank you.
You'll be hearing from us.
All right, next on the agenda, it is, we're a little bit late, but